You destroyed your brother's life, Julian. Don't forget that. Those words from my mother, Evelyn, cut through the quiet of the kitchen like an accusation that never faded. My name is Julian. I'm 25, and for 11 years those sentences have been the soundtrack to my days. They came every time I dared to ask about the balance in my bank account. Every time I mentioned moving out of the house in Spokane, Washington. Every time I wondered why, at 2 jobs and barely $20 to my name, I was still the one footing Nathan's medical bills. I was 14 when Nathan got hurt. It was a family camping trip, a routine October escape to Lake Curedane we'd taken for as long as I could remember. Nathan was 17 then, proud of his new driver's license, dreaming about football scholarships. Dad, Douglas, was behind the wheel. Nathan rode shotgun, and I was crammed in the back seat. One minute we were joking about something dumb. The next, the truck was skidding out of control. The world tumbled and everything went black. Nathan's back was broken. He endured 3 operations, 6 months confined to a wheelchair, and though he recovered much of his mobility, he still walked with a limp. From the first night I woke in that fluorescent hospital room, accusation greeted me instead of comfort. They told me I had been loud, that I had distracted Dad while he drove. They said my noise had cost my brother his future in football, erased scholarship offers, bankrupted any chance our family had of financial stability. I was a child when they laid that burden on me, and a child's acceptance of parental words is stubborn. When your parents insist you are to blame, you rarely have the tools to argue back. So I believed them. I internalized guilt and set my life to repairing what they said I had broken. Over the next 11 years, I committed myself to that task. At 15, I started mowing lawns. Then I rinsed dishes in a greasy diner, later worked construction, and eventually took on loading freight at Quenro Data by day and stocking supermarket shelves by night. Every dollar I earned went toward therapies and equipment for Nathan, and toward what my parents labeled restitution for the life I took from him. My savings account sat at 0 for 3 consecutive years. I hadn't bought a new shirt since high school. My truck had 200,000 miles and a tendency to sputter at the worst possible moments. My mother held the household finances, telling me bluntly, "You've proven you can't be trusted with money or decisions." So I trusted her to manage what little income I had left. But lately things had begun to gnaw at me. Small fractures of doubt appeared where certainty had been. A month ago I overheard Nathan on the phone with his girlfriend, planning to apply for a job at the airport. He mentioned his back felt fine now. The doctors had cleared him for normal work 2 years prior. When I brought it up to Mom and Dad, they grew awkward. Evelyn changed the subject like a practiced surgeon deflecting a probe. Douglas excused himself and went out to tinker in the garage. The silence stank. And then last week I caught a conversation I wasn't meant to hear. I was passing the kitchen late at night and paused when voices rose. Nathan was arguing, not the quiet, resigned Nathan I had learned to accept, but a firm, tired voice insisting something had gone on too long. "You can't keep doing this to him," Nathan said. "It's been 11 years. Julian's given up his life." My stomach clenched. Evelyn's reply was automatic, like a rehearsed line. "He owes us," she snapped. "He owes you. That accident destroyed our future." Douglas cut in with a clipped, defensive, "Don't bring up the police report." A chill ran through me. Police report. For 11 years that phrase had never been mentioned. "Julian doesn't even know, does he?" Nathan asked quietly. The words settled like ice. "What Julian knows is what he needs to know," Evelyn replied. "He was responsible for distracting the driver. He's paying the consequences. That's justice. Justice." The word tasted like iron in my mouth. Something about the way Nathan said my name, not condemning but apologetic, unsettled, made me freeze in the hallway. I slipped into the bathroom and stayed there for 2 hours, watching the conversation echo in the thin light under the door. My parents went upstairs. Nathan left the house with his hands in his pockets. Silence pressed down on me afterward, but not the kind that heals. This silence felt like a space where things had been carefully hidden. I couldn't live with that. Early the next morning, I called in sick and drove to the Spokane Police Department. I told the clerk I needed the accident report from October of 2013, the single vehicle crash on Highway 95 involving the Patterson family. An hour later, a 3-page packet lay in my hands. I parked, sat in my aging truck, and read the document until the words blurred. Primary cause of the collision. Driver error due to wet road conditions and reduced visibility. No evidence of passenger distraction. Severe weather conditions with standing water reported on Highway 95 between miles 20 to 25. Vehicle hydroplaned during routine braking maneuver. No citations issued. No sign of passenger interference. Those lines felt impossible and liberating all at once. For 11 years I had been made to believe that my chatter had wrecked everything. The police report suggested otherwise. The crash had been the product of rain and a dangerous road. I read the conclusion so many times the letters seemed to burn into my retinas. My hands trembled as the implications unfolded. All the years of odd jobs and hollow savings. All the nights sleeping in a basement room while my parents argued treatments and payments upstairs. Perhaps they had been built on an untruth. I drove home slowly, piecing through every memory. The way Mother's voice had always tightened when she spoke of the accident. The way Dad had slammed his fist whenever my future was mentioned. I thought of the college fund they spent on medical bills, the checks they took from my modest wages, the explanations that had always ended with, "You need to make this right." I thought of Nathan's quiet acquiescence, his reluctance to refute them even when I emptied my pockets for his care. Had he been complicit, or simply soft in the way few could be when family pain was involved? Pulling into the driveway felt like returning to a stage where I had been playing the same role for over a decade. I could see both cars in the driveway, my parents' and Nathan's, which meant the house would be full. Perfect timing, I told myself. I stepped out of my truck with the police report folded in my hand, feeling something like cold courage settle into my spine. I walked up the steps and opened the front door. Inside, the house smelled like coffee and old wood. Voices drifted from the kitchen. As I eased inside, paper rustling in my pocket, the past 11 years arrived with me. I was ready to lay the report on the table, to ask them plainly why they had lied to me, to demand the truth about what else they had hidden. I was poised to confront them, ready to ask them why they'd been lying to me for 11 years, ready to find out what other truths they'd been, ready to understand how much of me life I'd given away for nothing. I found them in the living room. My parents were on the couch. Nathan was in the recliner. They looked up when I walked in, and I could see they weren't expecting me home from work. "I went to the police station today," I said, holding up the report. "Funny thing about this accident report, say something different than what you've been telling me for 11 years. Douglas's face went pale. Evelyn immediately started talking. "Julian, you didn't understand what you're reading. Those reports don't tell the whole story. It says there was no evidence of passenger distraction." I interrupted. "It says the accident was caused by weather conditions and driver error, not by me being loud in the back seat." Nathan looked confused. "You got the actual police report?" "Yeah, I want to hear what it really says." I started reading directly from the primary cause of accident. Driver error due to wet road conditions and reduced visibility. Weather conditions were severe with standing water reported on Highway 95. Clay had repelled during routine braking maneuver. No citations issued. I looked up at my parents. No mentions of distracting passengers anywhere in this report. Douglas stood up slowly. "You need to understand that police reports don't capture everything that happens in a vehicle. We were there. We know what truly happened. So the police officer was wrong. The investigating officer who interviewed all of us at the hospital is wrong about what caused the accident. Those officers don't know about family dynamics. Evelyn said they don't know how you were acting that day. We protected you by not telling them their full truth about your behavior." I stared at her. "You protected me by lying to them. We protected you by handling it within the family instead of having eaten an official record." Douglas said, "You should be grateful." Nathan was reading over my shoulder. "Now this is Dad hydroplaned on standing water that doesn't mention Julian at all." "Nathan, you were unconscious for most of the investigation," Evelyn said quickly. "You don't remember the details, but I remember the drive," Nathan said slowly. "I remember it was raining hard. I remember Dad saying the roads were getting dangerous. I don't remember Julian doing anything unusual." I felt something shifting in the room. For the first time in 11 years, Simeon besides me was questioning my parents' version of events. "This doesn't matter," Douglas said, his voice getting louder. "Julian has been making things right. He's been taking responsibility. That's what matters. Making things right for something I didn't do." "You don't know what you did I didn't do," Evelyn snapped. "You were 14 and in shock. We're the adults. When or what happened?" The police officer was an adult too, and he wrote down what actually happened. "Get out," Douglas said suddenly. "Get out of this house. You're being disrespectful and ungrateful after everything we've sacrificed for this family." I looked at Nathan, hoping he'd say something, but he was staring at Thefler, the same pattern as always. When things got heated, Nathan retreated. When my parents made demands, Nathan stayed quiet. "If I leave, I'm not coming back," I said. "Good," Evelyn said. "Maybe living on your own will teach you some appreciation for what your family has done for you." I walked upstairs, packed me clothes into 2 garbage bags, and loaded them into my truck. When I came back downstairs, my parents were in Thekachan with Nathan talking in low voices. They stopped when they saw me. I'm staying at a motel for now, I said. But this conversation isn't over. I want to know why you've been lying to me for 11 years. We haven't been lying, Douglas. We've been protecting this family that I left without saying goodbye. Drove Tuth Travel Lodge on Division Street and played for 3 nights with money I'd been saving for Nathan's next round of physical therapy. Sat on the bed in that small room and realized I'd been living Sumio and Elsa's version of my life since I was 14 years old. But I also realized that walking away wasn't enough. I needed to understand how deep this went. I needed to know what else they'd been hiding. I called Nathan the next morning. He agreed to meet me at a coffee shop downtown away from our parents. I've been thinking about that police report all night, he said when he sat down. Some things aren't adding up. Like what? Like the fact that I've been getting disability insurance payments for 3 years that I don't need anymore. Like the fact that my medical bills have been covered by insurance since 2015, but you're still paying out of pocket for things. Like the fact that mom and dad have been telling people you're supporting me financially when I've had a job for 2 years. I sat down my coffee. What are you talking about? I've been working at the airport since 2023, making good money. My back is fine. The doctors cleared me for full activity in 2022. But mum and dad keep telling Arion you're still paying for my care because of the accident you caused. They told me you needed ongoing therapy. I haven't needed therapy since 2022. I go to a regular gym now. Nathan pulled out his phone and showed me a bank statement. Look at this. I've been getting disability payments that I tried to refuse, but mom insisted I keep accepting them and give them to her. Tashi said it was insurance money that the family deserved because of what happened. I stared at the numbers on his phone. Thousands of dollars every month going to our parents. Nathan, I've been working 2 jobs to pay for your medical care. I've been living in their basement, paying them rent, giving them most of my paycheck for bills they said were related to your... His face went white. Julian, I had no idea. I thought you were just helping out while you saved money for your own place. I didn't know they were taking everything. How much money are we talking about? He scrolled through his banking app. I've given them about $40,000 over the past 3 years. Money I didn't think I should be getting anyway, but they said it was family money. I did quick math in my head. My parents had been taking roughly $1,500 a month from me for Nathan's plus $800 in rent, plus what Unearthed could get for my savings account. Nathan had been giving them over $1,000 a month in disability payments he didn't need. They've been collecting money from both of us, I said, telling you that you should give them your disability payments, telling that I need to pay for your care, double dipping. But why? What have they been spending the money on? I thought about their new kitchen renovation last year, the trip to Arizona they took in the spring, Douglas's new truck, things they say they were able to afford because they were being careful with family finances. I think they've been using your accident to fund their lifestyle for 11 years, I said, and they've been using my guilt about causing it to make sure I never questioned where the money was going. Nathan was quiet for a long time, then said, Julian, I need to tell you some. I've always remembered that day clearly. You weren't doing anything wrong in the back seat. Dad was driving too fast for the conditions, and when hit standing water, he overcorrected the car hydroplaned. It wasn't your fault. You've known this the whole time. I've known you didn't cause it, but I thought mom and dad were just trying to help you process guilt. I didn't realize they were using that guilt to control your life. I felt something break loose in my chest. 11 years of carrying weight that wasn't of mine to carry. We need to confront them. I said. Together. We drove to the house that afternoon. I'd spent the morning at their bank statements, the police support records of payments I'd made over the years, and Nathan's disability documentation. We weren't going in angry. We were going in prepared. My parents were in Thekachan when we walked in. Evelyn looked surprised to see us together. Julian, we thought you were staying off that motel until you came to your senses, she said. I've come to my senses, I said, setting the folder of documents on the table. That's why we're... Nathan, you don't need to be involved in this. Douglas said this is between Julian and us. Actually, Dad, I'm very involved in this, Nathan said, because it turns out you've been lying to both of us. I opened the folder and pulled out Nathan's bank statements. Nathan's been giving you over $1,000 a month in disability payments for an injury that doesn't affect him. Meanwhile, you've been telling that I need to pay for his ongoing medical care that he doesn't actually... Evelyn's face flushed. That money is family money. Nathan's accident acted all of us financially. No, I said, pulling out the police report. Nathan's accident was caused by weather conditions and driver error, not by anything I did. You've known that for 11 years, because you had this report. Botu lied to me about what it said. We never showed you that report because we didn't want you to feel like you could shirk responsibility. Douglas said. Responsibility for what? For an accident that the police determined I didn't. Nathan pulled out his medical records and I haven't needed ongoing GAR for 3 years. My doctor cleared him for normal activity in 2022. You've been taking Julian's money for medical expenses that don't exist. You don't understand the long-term costs of an injury like that, Evelyn said, but the voice was getting shaky. I understand that you've been committing fraud, I said. Taking disability payments that Nathan doesn't need. Taking money from me for medical expenses that don't exist. Or whining about the cause of the accident. Douglas stood up. You're both buying. This family has been through. We've been trying to hold things together by lying and stealing. By making sure everyone took responsibility for their actions. Whose actions? Nathan. Because according to this police report, the only person who made a mistake that day was Dad. He was driving too fast for wet road conditions. Their room went quiet. Douglas sat back down. The truth is, I continued, you've been using Nathan's accident to control my life and fund your lifestyle for 11 years. You convinced a 14-year-old kid that he destroyed his brother's future. Then used that guilt to justify taking everything he earned. Julian, you're misunderstanding. I'm understanding perfectly for the first time in 11 years. I interrupted. You had evidence that would have cleared me because keeping me guilty was more profitable than telling the truth. Evelyn started crying. We did what we thought was best for the family. You did what was best for yourselves, Nathan said. And you destroyed Julian's life to do it. Douglas looked at both of you and I could see him calculating his next move, but there was no next move. We had evidence. We had So, here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to pay back every dollar you took from both of, and you're going to explain to everyone who's heard your version of this story what really happened that day. The real confrontation was just beginning. Douglas tried one last manipulation. If you do this, you'll destroy this family. Is that what you want? You already destroyed this family 11 years ago when you decided to build it only, I said, placing the police report directly in front of him. The difference is now I'm done being the only one paying the price for it. Evelyn was sobbing now. We can work this. We can make payments back to you. We can explain things to people. You're going to do more than that, Nathan said. You're going to call Julian's bank and authorize him to see every transaction from the accounts you've been managing his name. You're going to provide a documentation for every medical expense claimed Julian needed to pay for, and you're going to return Nathan's disability payments that he never should have given you. I added, because taking those payments under false pretenses is insurance fraud. Douglas' face went gray. You can't prove that we did anything illegal. I pulled out our recording device. Actually, I can because I've been recording this conversation. You just admitted that you hid the police report from me because you wanted me to feel responsible. You admitted that you took Nathan's disability money. You admitted that you've been lying about medical expenses. Recording your own parents, Evelyn whispered. How could you? The same way you could lie to your own son for 11 years, I replied. The same way you could steal his entire adult life based on something you knew he didn't do. Nathan stood up. I'm moving to Seattle next month. I already have an Julian, you should come with him. Start over somewhere. They can manipulate you. I looked at my parents sitting at their kitchen table, finally facing the consequences of 11 years of. They looked smaller somehow, older, like people who had been caught doing something they always knew was the money you stole from both of. I said, we want it back. All of it. You have 30 days. We don't have that kind of money, Douglas said. Then you'll sell whatever you bought with it, the kitchen renovation, the truck, the Arizona trips, whatever it takes. Douglas and Evelyn never recovered from the exposure of their 11-year scheme. When I told the story to our extended family, their reputation crumbled. Cousins who had praised them for handling Julian's guilt, responsibly stood speaking to them. Church members who had heard their version of the accident confronted them about lying in their community. Douglas's brother, who had loaned them money years earlier based on their story about struggling with medical bills, demanded immediate repayment when he learned the truth. The insurance company launched an investigation when Nathan reported that been receiving disability payments didn't qualify for, and his parents had been encouraging him to continue collecting them. Evelyn had to hire a lawyer when the state began looking into financial elder abuse charges. Their comfortable retirement disappeared into legal fees and mandatory restitution. Within 6 months, They'd sold their house to pay back what they owed Nathan and me. They moved into a small apartment across town where Douglas took a part-time job at 63 years old to cover their basic expenses. Their social circle evaporated when people learned how they'd manipulated their son's trauma for financial gain. Nathan and I drove to Seattle together in January. He started work at Seattle Airport, and I got hired by a shipping company that paid me more in 1 month than my parents had let me keep in. We rented a 2-bedroom apartment here, Green Lake, and for the first time since I was 14, I kept my own paycheck. I opened my own bank account, bought my first new clothes in years, and started saving money for things I wanted instead of paying for lies I'd been told. Nathan and I became friends again, maybe first time since the accident. Sometimes healing means discovering that the weight you've been carrying wasn't yours to begin with. This was today's tale of revenge. Only on Revenge with Arion, the world's #1 male revenge stories channel. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and of course subscribe, so you never miss another powerful story of payback. Every day, we bring you intense, gripping stories of justice, karma, and revenge that will leave you speechless. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support fuels our mission. Until next time, stay sharp, stay unbroken, and remember, true revenge is unforgettable.